From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, the National FFA Convention wraps up another successful year in Indianapolis. Hear from the organization's CEO about plans for the future.
It's our livelihood is what they're taking.
Thieves target hemp in the Midwest for all the wrong reasons. And more positive signs. The trade war with China may be finally coming to an end.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado and the all-new Silverado HD, the strongest, most advanced family of Silverados ever.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. The soybean market rallying on Friday after CNBC reported China said it had reached a consensus on principles with the U.S. over core trade issues. It comes after the two sides held a high-level phone conversation on Friday. Also, USDA reporting another flash sale of 132,000 metric tons of soybeans for delivery to China. The White House saying in a statement that U.S. trade officials, quote, made progress in a variety of areas and are in the process of resolving outstanding issues. Discussions will continue at the deputy level, end quote. Now, this is all coming as efforts continue to get that Phase 1 trade deal signed. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross telling Fox Business Network the U.S. is pretty comfortable the Phase 1 deal is in good shape, and officials hope it can be signed around the same time frame as the canceled mid-November APEC meeting. But China's economy is facing a bigger threat right now to its economic growth than a trade war with Washington. Communist leaders are counting on consumers to power that economy, replacing trade and investment. The Chinese people are jittery over the tariff war with President Trump and possible job losses. That hurt sales of cars, real estate, and other big-ticket items and has caused economic growth to slump to a multi-decade low of 6% in the last quarter. Also a big story right now, the weather. November weather is starting right where October left off, with below normal temperatures for a good part of the country. And snow, also an issue. This video from Stephanie Porter, taken in Gridley, Illinois, north of Bloomington. As you can see, the corn is still standing out in the field. Just 54% of the corn crop is harvested right now in that state, and only 69% of the soybeans. So there's a lot of work until harvest is complete. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman joins us, and Mike, it looks like we're going to be in this cold pattern for a while.
Yeah, Clinton, it does. The pattern has evolved, and it is definitely into a cold pattern for the central part of the country and most of the east now. Anytime you see the jet stream coming out of northwestern Canada into the central plains and then eastward, that pretty much tells you that it is going to be a cold weather pattern, and we're going to see this pattern continuing Tuesday on into Wednesday. A pretty shot of colder air there for Thursday and Friday for the eastern two-thirds of the country. And this overall pattern is going to be sticking around, especially when you see these vortexes like this, kind of like the polar vortex. It's not the middle of winter, though, so we're not going to call it that. But these are stable patterns, and until these go away, we're going to see these shots of cold air coming into the middle of the country going east. You folks out west in this pattern, though, may kind of be on the warm side for a while. We'll be back in just a little while with your complete forecast.
Mexico's top North American negotiators upbeat. The new U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement will come up in the House for a vote before Thanksgiving. He says he based his outlook on conversations with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer. Pelosi saying last week she will allow a vote on USMCA in return for concessions on labor and enforcement provisions. She went on to say talks between congressional Democrats and Trump administration officials over changes to the pact were in the last mile, and she was optimistic an agreement could be reached if they can come to terms. It's also harvest time for hemp, and the plants are catching the eye of thieves. Reporter Zach Horner of AgDay affiliate WNDU reports the thieves are confusing it for marijuana.
What they don't realize is this is not marijuana, it's hemp, so it has no THC in it.
The Elkhart County Sheriff's Department says hemp theft is on the rise.
Information passed on to us, folks actually do believe it's marijuana. It's growing wild in the field, so they go out there to take it.
Well, when you get up close to it, it kind of does look like marijuana, but if you smoke any of this, you're going to be very disappointed.
Somebody's probably not going to feel very well. They're not going to get any of the desired effects. The intention is that it would be rope It's not dope.
You're not going to see an 80-acre field of marijuana along the road.
At U.S. Hemp Company in Millersburg, they're growing hemp for CBD products. CBD is not psychoactive, unlike THC that will get the user high.
It's our livelihood is what they're taking.
Earlier this month, U.S. Hemp had plants stolen and luckily got them back. These are those plants. The Elkhart County Sheriff's Department says any theft that totals over $750 is a felony. And just one of these hemp plants alone is around $1,000, going from looking for buds to becoming a budding criminal.
Possession of marijuana still stands if you don't have licensing for hemp.
Farmers say leave their crops alone. There's no buzz to catch in these fields.
Let us be the farmers that we're supposed to be and trying to grow this for the CBD purposes.
So imagine being a convicted felon for going out and stealing a plant out of somebody's field. You know you shouldn't be there, you're trespassing. It's just a bad combination of things that can be avoided.
In Elkhart County, Zach Horner.
And if you're interested in growing hemp, we've got some opportunities on the horizon. Join us for a Farm Journal Hemp College in Las Vegas, Indianapolis, and this coming January in Chicago. You can find more details at agweb.com/events. What's the feeling this week as we start a new month and a new round of trading? We have some analysis coming up. And later, as FFA wraps up another convention, we take a look at what the organization has planned for the future. U.S. farm bankruptcies are on the rise again. New data shows Chapter 12 filings jumped 24% from last year. As you can see from this American Farm Bureau graphic, the biggest spike coming in the Northwest and West. In fact, every region is seeing more Chapter 12 bankruptcies, with the Midwest up 13%. AFBF says while filings remain well below the historical highs of the 80s, they're concerned about the trend. It says support for farmers last year and this year is expected to help, but not all farmers will benefit from trade assistance, Farm Bill programs, crop insurance, or disaster aid. The market saw a surge on Friday, partially thanks to China buying more U.S. soybeans. Here's where we're starting the week from the CME.
Soybeans rallied. The new sales to China really helped the market move higher. The exports were well above the USDA forecast, and first notice deliveries were much more than expected. Brazil is also getting great weather and planting. I think that might be, really holding the market in check. But there's 2/3 finished there in Brazil, so things could be going. Maybe that is going to be trouble down the road, but right now the market is looking very, very well. Now, corn did slip. Maybe it would have slipped a little more had soybeans been off, but it did come back some. Export sales are at the smallest since 2012 and the second smallest since 1990. Today in the livestock market, cattle hit yet another new high. Strong beef prices are underpinning those futures. It's really full steam ahead.
Here at the Agribusiness Desk, we have Jim McCormick of agmarket.net and John Payne with Daniels Trading. All right, guys, let's talk about what we learned last week in markets. Jim, we'll start with you.
Well, I'll tell you right now what we learned last week is this market's in a wait-and-see mode. We got this big report out coming in on November 8th, and right now the trade, I think, is just trying to figure out what's going on. There's a lot of risk out there between the trade, the Trump negotiation with the Chinese. So we're waiting for probably a big move, and the reports have been big movers and shakers in the report, and that's the next big thing we're looking at.
Yeah, John, what did you learn from markets last week? Anything specific?
Well, the foreign markets aren't buying what they don't need to buy. So in this case, Thursday export numbers were pathetic outside of soybeans. Cotton, wheat was okay, but corn and cotton, we're essentially seeing a lot of buying hand to mouth. And on soybeans, without some sort of prearranged Chinese purchase, those exports wouldn't be doing very well either. So supply is certainly a question mark with snow on the ground as Jim and I drive across the state. But it's a debate on demand and as far as what these folks are willing to pay, especially on a price rally.
Yeah, and Jim, as we look at this, yes, harvest is running behind, basis is relatively strong. What does that mean for our markets here through 2019?
Right now, it looks like what it tells us is the flat price isn't doing much, and if the producers or the end users need the grain, it's how they're doing the heavy lifting via the basis, so they're bidding up. So that could be an opportunity for producers out there. Make sure you're talking to your your elevators out there, because grain is not going to market right now. It is staying in the field or going to the bin. So these end users are really kind of bidding up a little bit around the country. So that's actually an opportunity out there.
Yeah, John, you agree?
Absolutely. I think the market wants it right now. I think you need to give it to them if you're getting craved and you have it. Again, delivery prices for September corn were $345. We're $386 December. So I think the price is reflective of what the supply situation is, at least in the short run.
Yeah, one tip real quick from each of you for the next 2 weeks.
The next 2 weeks, put your wish orders in. This market's going to get very, very volatile going into these reports, but don't be afraid to take the profits. I mean, that's my recommendation.
Yeah, I think delivery off December at this price would be better than May delivery at this price. So remember, time is a component here. If you need cash flow, it's better to move it now, and I think they'll look to re-own it than it is to hold out and hope for a better price.
All right, well, thank you both for being here. Appreciate the advice. We'll be back with more Ag Day and a check of weather coming up in just a minute.
To contact Jim McCormick at Ag Market, call 844-4AG-MARKET or visit their website at www.agmarket.net. To find John's newsletter, This Week in Grain and Oilseeds, head over to www.thisweekingrain.com.
Meteorologist Mike Hoffman here. And Mike, about a week ago, we saw a NOAA forecast come out that calls for a warmer than average for like 2/3 of the country winter. What's your take on that, and where do we sit?
I don't believe it.
You don't?
Okay. No, there's warm water in the North Pacific. That almost always leads to cold shots of air into the middle of the country. NOAA has to uses their computer models a lot, and they are usually warm. I go with other things. All right. Here's the estimated rainfall for this week. And you can see there was some heavy rain over the past week. This takes us from a week ago Saturday through this past Friday. Very large amounts, parts of Mississippi, Alabama, especially near the state line in those states, panhandle of Florida into eastern Louisiana. Some areas ended up with 5 to 8 inches of rain in those areas. And there was some pretty decent moisture on up into the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley as well. Some of this on the northwest fringe obviously is melted snow. But for the most part, fairly wet weather pattern this past week, and that included Halloween for many places in the Great Lakes and in the Northeast. Drought monitor still showing pockets of extreme to severe drought, central South Texas, and a few pockets in the Southeast. That's gotten a little better over the past several weeks because of some tropical moisture, and it remains dry in many parts of the Southwest. There's the big picture on the jet stream. We showed you this earlier in the show. We'll take this out a little farther this time around. This is a shot of very cold air again right there. Northern Plains, Great Lakes into the Northeast on into Friday. And then we see things lessen a little bit. There's still a lot of energy up there. So the northern tier of states, Northern Plains to the Northeast, probably remain very cold well into next week, but you might moderate a little bit farther to the south. So precipitation this week below normal in the Southeast, East Coast, Central Plains, most of the West, above normal only Texas and the northern portions of the Great Lakes, but most of the country is going to be cold this week. Below normal temperatures, some of it much below, above normal only in the Southwest and South Florida. All right, November temperatures, I'm going to keep it below normal for the middle of the country, above normal far southeast and southwest. December temperatures kind of shrink that below normal into the far northern plains, otherwise above normal east, west, and south. Then we bring the cold back for January. Great Lakes down into Texas, below normal temperatures, far southeast and much of the west above normal. And the 90-day outlook for precipitation, I'm going above normal. This is always tough, but I'm going above normal from the northeast to the Gulf Coast back into parts of the southwest, below normal for the western sections and the northern sections of the Mississippi Valley. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. Heading to Casper, Wyoming, first of all, as we start the week, a mix of sunshine and clouds, high of 42. Pine Bluff, Arkansas, partly sunny, rather cool, high of 60. And Akron, Ohio, chilly with partly sunny skies, high around 52.
Coming up, Machinery Pete has something for you John Deere lovers.
Stay tuned, folks. Coming up, we're going to talk about a low-hour tractor coming up for sale at auction in Iowa.
Hey y'all, Justin Moore here. Get ready to kick up some dust with the Roxor Dirt Roads and a Country Show sweepstakes. Enter now for a chance to win a customized off-road Roxor and 2 VIP tickets to one of my upcoming concerts. Visit roxoroffroad.com/Justin Moore.
A once popular John Deere tractor is getting a ton of interest on the used market, as Machinery Pete tells us.
November 25th, I'll have our Machinery Pete TV crew in Williams, Iowa. We'll be filming a farm retirement auction by my friends at Ryerson Auction Realty for the TV show. And one of the beautiful tractors on this sale is this 2005 John Deere 8220 with only 1,380 hours on it. Now, so far this year, the average auction price on an 8220 is $59,365. Now, the highest one this year, well, here's a picture of it. This was an 04 model, 1,774 hours, sold March 9th on a sale in Northwest Ohio, went for $92,000. Now, that's the second highest auction price I've seen in 4 years on an 8220. And the only higher one, here's a picture of it. This was December 5th, 2018, in a farm auction in Central Illinois, another 04 model with 2,554 hours on it, brought $112,000. Now, folks, let me let you in on a little secret here. If you go to machinerypete.com and click on any piece of equipment for sale, in this case 8220s, you'll see 24 of them for sale. Here's a picture of a Sharp 03 model that Cross Implement in Illinois got for sale. It's got 4,616 hours on it, asking $89,900. Now, right next to the sale price is a little box that says View Auction Prices. You click on that little box, we'll actually show you for free, no cost, the last 10 of that item sold at auction. So when you do that on John Deere 8220s, what pops up first is this 04 model that sold on a BigIron.com online auction in Northeast Nebraska, September 25th, 4,307 hours on it, went for $76,750. So you want to know what stuff is going for, folks? Go to machinerypete.com, click on any piece for sale, and look for that little View Auction Prices button.
Coming up, as another FFA convention ends, work on what's next begins. I talked with the organization's CEO about plans for the future. Next.
Hey y'all, Justin Moore here. Get ready to kick up some dust with the Roxor Dirt Roads and a Country Show sweepstakes. Enter now for a chance to win a customized off-road Roxor and 2 VIP tickets to one of my upcoming concerts. Visit roxoroffroad.com/Justin Moore.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry. Coverage of the FFA convention is brought to you by Culver's and Dry Shod waterproof footwear.
The National FFA Convention and Expo wrapped up over the weekend. Some 70,000 students and advisors were on hand for the event in Indianapolis. Now this year, the organization set a new record for membership, topping 700,000. I caught up with the CEO, Mark Peschel, and asked him what's next.
The other thing is while there are 700,000 FFA members, there are over 1 million young people that are in ag education, which means we have about a 70% market share. And our objective by the time we reach our centennial in 2028 is to have every student in agricultural education a part of FFA. And that's not about the numbers, that's really about making sure that we expose students to the activities that we have, to the leadership development, and engage them in things that we think will make them very productive citizens and great talent for employers down the road.
Speaking of future careers, during last week, students not only had a good time, but many of them were in the running for awards that will eventually lead them to a career.
Well, I got started my freshman year of high school when I kind of had the opportunity to start running my beekeeping operation, and I was interested in how I could make my operation better, and so in doing so I started research, and so I started looking into if pollen is in honey actually can benefit allergies or not. And so I was looking at pollen in honey between store-bought and local samples to see if my sample was better.
Yeah, and what'd you find out?
I actually found that locally produced honey did have more pollen present in it than store-bought samples, and in some cases no pollen was present in store-bought samples. And so I thought that was really interesting, just kind of like the changes that happen there. And then I also did a lot of other research looking at wintering beehives and insulating them over the winter, and then eventually my senior year, I did some social science research and looked at improving knowledge around pollinators in my community, knowing that I wanted to go into agri-science education in college.
So I think this is a question we've been talking a lot about in the industry. Are we or are we not in a crisis with our pollinators?
Sure. So I know back in 2015 it was a really big issue and that we were losing and it was endangered, but what I know most recently is that pollinators are starting to make a comeback, and just with so much focus and effort being put in towards preserving them and taking care of them, they're starting to make a comeback, and that I think it's going to be okay.
All right, thanks Olivia, and thank all of you. That's going to wrap us up this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.
AgDay, brought to you by the Milk Business Conference. Don't miss this dairy business-focused event November 11th and 12th, 2019 in Las Vegas. Register today at milkbusinessconference.com.